Hey, I am back with another video. It's been a little while since I made one. Not a little while, I think it's been a couple days, but I got some new information. I kind of got some more downloads, so I kind of just want to share it with whoever wants to listen, and we'll go from there. I've been really trying to focus in on kind of like Nick and I did this triangle, right? And on one side, I wrote authenticity. On the other side, I wrote power. And on the bottom, I wrote clarity. Not in really any particular order, but like it's something that I want to try to really work into my channel and be able to be my best version and be able to just bring the most fire and the most clarity and the most realness that I can to my channel. And that will better attract more people to like hearing my message and being able to really resonate with it and connect with it and see something out of it. You know what I mean? I think that that's a big thing. Like, right? Like, I listen to content creators because, like, I'm like, what is the result of what I'm listening to Aubrey Marcus for, right? Like, right now I'm listening to Aubrey Marcus talk about the meta crisis and really the overall, like, view of what is happening in today's world with Dr. Mark Gaffney. And like, I'm finding that really interesting. I'm kind of pausing it in between it and like kind of gaining a lot of insight from it, kind of processing what they're saying, thinking forward on my own, kind of being like, what is it that we're talking about here, and what is it that I'm trying to gain from this message, right? And I really liked this last video. Excuse me. I really liked the last Meta Crisis, and he did two of them with Dr. Gaffney, so I'm not even halfway through the first one. So I paused it for a little bit. I woke up this morning, kind of had some tea, and just sat in on it, and I'll finish that one and watch the next one that he made with him. And it's a really good, really informative podcast, just really about what it was that I wanted to segue in and talk about today, which I'm trying to keep more in alignment with what it is that I'm trying to say, right? Like, I don't want to get too off topic. So I have a really good video here on about creating new systems, and that's what they're talking about. And it's something that I've been really talking about it. So I've deepened my understanding by listening to what it is that they're saying, and I'm really grateful to like be able to have people that I can look to and be like, okay, this is a baseline, right? Because obviously Aubrey and I are different, and like I'm my own person, and I'm creating my own content based on the experiences that I'm having in the life that I'm living. But I'm able to kind of have a reference point as to what it is that I'm looking for, and what it is that I'm looking to say, and what it is that I'm just overall looking to create here on this platform. So yeah, so creating new systems, it's something I've been really talking about really over the past couple months. Like, if you look at the landscape of the current system that we have, and I think it's time for us to really start having full spectrum conversations about it. And I don't think most people can do that, and it's okay, because there's just a lot of chatter and noise, and there's a lot of beliefs and concepts, most of which have come from society anyways. Like, most of the beliefs of the government and the current paradigm that we have, it's all come from them. Most people haven't really taken the time to really just think about, does this make sense? Like, is this something that I really want to engage with? Like, is this something that really is benefiting humanity in any way, right? And as through my eyes, I would say no. The current paradigm is not. I don't think it's benefiting humanity as to where we're at right now. I think that we're in, like Dr. Gaffney said, I think that we're in a meta crisis. I think that, and when I say meta crisis, I'm not meaning that the world's going to end. I don't think that the world's going to end personally. That's my own personal opinion, although I don't know, right? Anything could happen. So I'm open to that. But also at the same time, we look at the story of humanity, and we look at where we've come from, and we look at the history of humanity, right? And we look at just the empire in general. And I'm going to go to Star Wars here in a minute, because that's where a lot of my references will come from. And if you really look at the history of humanity and how much humanity has conquered others, and this started before even before the British Empire, right? My ancestors were conquering each other and conquering lands in Africa. So like, this isn't just like a white man thing, you know. This has been happening since time immemorial. So like, when we really look at like that history, and we start to go into what has happened, and we look and we see like, okay, like, the British went to Africa, and they conquered Kenya, and they conquered a few other countries in that area. The Dutch did the same. The Germans did the same. But for the most part, that's largely pretty much over. Like, there's really no more land left to conquer, if you really think of it. It's really all, like, gone a different route. The empire's gone a different way. Now they can control the masses and psyches via media, via social media, via, the news. So, like, they're able to conquer in different ways now. So now we can see that. We can see, like, okay, this is what's really going on with certain facets of the media, certain facets of politics. Like, we're able to now see what they're doing in terms of gaining more control over other people. And they'll use people's psyche to project whatever reality they are trying to project. And that is what we're dealing with. And that's why, if you look at our overall society, right? If you look at the depression rate, if you look at the anxiety rate, if you look at the suicide rate, if you look at the alcoholism rate, if you look at the drug overdose rate, like, these numbers are increasing pretty exponentially. And this is what I've been saying for quite some time now about our current paradigm. It's decaying and it's collapsing and it's not evolving, right? Like, consciousness isn't really evolving, though it has evolved. We've had pockets, right? I'll give you a good example. When George Floyd was murdered by Derek Chauvin, the masses that went out there to fucking say, we don't want this, this is wrong, that's an evolution right there. You know what I mean? For the most part, in our modern society, racism, again, that's a great example. Like segregation and Jim Crow, like, that's an evolution in consciousness because people banded together and so collectively came together and said, hold on, wait a minute, like, we don't align with this, this is inhumane, right? This is not allowing us to be human and embrace the humanity of the oneness of and the wholeness of all of us, right? And I think that's where I've seen pockets of the evolution, That's why I see that there's another one coming. It has to be. That's why I'm not the black pillar. I'm not going to sell you the fucking thing of, the world's going to end, it's going to blow up, and it could. Like I said, I think I said a few minutes ago, I don't know. I don't have the answers, but, like, I'm just looking at it from the pockets of history and the pockets of, like, consciousness that we have shifted just a little bit. And I think that overall, when we're looking at how do we born a new system, well, we have to look at what's happened, what's going on, and what is it that we are looking to obtain in creating something new. What is the result? What's the value that we have within ourselves, right, to create something that allows us to step deeper into our humanity? Like, that's the goal. That's really where I'm at in terms of asking the questions and listening and getting the answers to how we create something that's new. How do we create something that is sustainable, something that has a bit of a different structure? We can take some of the old ideas. I say we take the market. We can even take some of the Constitution. I blanked out for me for a second. We could take some of the Constitution and we can create something newer off of that. We can change some things around. That's a great document. That's a great baseline. We can take that. There's so many. It's not just that one thing, but we can take various different components to the system that we have had now, right? The paradigm we've had now, to create something that's newer with a different structure, one that's based more around love and understanding and compassion, rather than having the eye of humanity closed, because that's what's going on now. The eye of humanity is closed, right? If you look at the technocracy, the aristocracy, the corporatocracy, like, their eyes closed to humanity. They're not really interested in helping and giving and being able to allow all of us to be a player in the world that we live in now, or in the system that we have now, more or less. Most of us are just on a fucking bench. There's not much that you can really do. Most people are just waiting for somebody else to fix it. Just in hopes that Trump will do it. In hopes that that's not how it works. It's not going to do it. If you look at the current paradigm, there's too much going on behind closed doors that not a lot of people know about, and that hurts humanity because if you look at the suffering and the amount of people that are suffering economically because of said virus, which is just a virus. It wasn't even the virus that did it. It was the reaction to it. So like if we look at these various different components as to where we're at now and what's gotten us here, we're able to look at how it is that we're going to create a new system and what values are we going to use to create this system. Like all this is very important because we have to really be able to think about, what is it that we as a collective want to do? Like where are we going to get the information from to create this new system? And I think it's very important to start looking at oneself first. I think this is where it's all starting. It's all starting from the awakening from within yourself. Like people want to break out the matrix, they want to break out of society, but like, have you broke out within yourself? Like, what does your life look like? You know what I mean? What choices are you making? Like that is what is the catalyst to us creating something new. You know, it all starts with ourselves. And I think overall, when I look at that, and you start to see how many people are awakening to themselves, that is where the system, that's the start of what I'm saying, right? So I'm just getting into the start, and I'm gonna build this thing up. I'm gonna explain more and more my own experience and the experiences of some of the people that I know in my life, and that's where we look to start. We look to start within ourselves, right? And we look to see who we are, right? What values do we have? Because then if we don't figure that out, how the fuck are we going to be able to band together to create a system if we don't have any values, or what is it that we have in our lives from the old story, right? That isn't in alignment with the true values of our divine nature, you know? And I think that it's extremely important for us as people, right? To have that full spectrum conversation with ourselves first. That's what it's gonna take. It's gonna start with having that full conversation with ourselves and asking questions about what is it that we are looking to do to better advance the expansion of humanity and the expansion of consciousness. I think that plays a huge role in it too. Also, I've gone through a very tremendous process where I fell forward and where, you know, some of the old story was still in control of myself, and I allowed it to be in control of myself. It's nobody else but my own thing, you know. So I had to rid out some things that were old, you know, a part of that old story, right? You know, the way I looked at women, the way that I looked at substances, the way that I viewed the relationship with my mother, like all these things I had to like fix. Right, it's beyond fixing. I had to really go within myself and have that full spectrum conversation, right? Like, that's where overall it started for me. And for me, psychedelics have been a huge vehicle for me to expand my consciousness. And there's many other ways to do it. It's not a one-size-shoe-fits-all. We don't really have to say that. We don't have to say that, oh, you know, this is what you need to do. There's so many different ways to expand your consciousness and to align with your own values and traditions within yourself that you embrace and that you feel passionate about. I think that's extremely important. So that is one of the first steps to really like getting the ball rolling on creating this system, you know, because you create that sort of vision within, right? And then you work with others, and then like, and now I can take it to Aubrey, I can take it to Nick, and we can meet the minds together. And now we can start putting together some action here and figure out what it is that we want to do in terms of the new story of humanity, right? Because the new story, it's already happening. It's already being created now. When you really take a step and you look at the system, right? And you look at people that are within society or just people questioning the system. That's the start. You know what I mean? That's the start to having that full spectrum conversation with themselves. Then they sit with themselves and they ask, again, psychedelics or not, doesn't matter. You just sit with yourself and start asking why. Does this really make sense? Like, does this system overall, is this really like something that is going to benefit humanity? Is it opening the eye or is it closing the eye, right? And that's what Dr. Gaffney's saying, right? In the podcast that I've been watching, right? And I couldn't put my finger on it until he said it, and then I clicked. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what I had been trying to curate, but I hadn't really been able to find the words how to say it. And he said it to me so perfectly. Like, that's the existential crisis. Is the eye of humanity is closed. The eye of humanity is closing, and then our own humanity is closing, right? Because if just look at the system, like I said it a couple minutes ago, the resources, most of it is to just the technocracy and the aristocracy and the corporatocracy. It's all that's where all the resources are really going to. They bought up most of it. They control people's consciousness. Most of it is going to them. So it's like, if you really look at, that's closing people's eye off to having love and compassion for other people, and it spread. You just look at the system, look at the justice system, right? Look at the prison system. Look at all these institutions. It's being driven by profit, and that's closing the eye. So the real question is now starting to become, right? How do we open that eye, right? Like how do we embrace our own fucking humanity, right? Create something that is sustainable, right? Something that we can take pride in, something that we can help other people in, right? And I'm not saying, like a socialist model. That's not really my angle. I don't knock people who agree with it, but I don't see how, if you look back through history, I don't see really how that is going to move us towards a more freer society. And when I say capitalism, I'm so loose about it. This isn't like, oh, it's one fucking thing, this is how it has to fucking be. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. And there's various ways we can trade resources with each other. It doesn't have to all be about money. I don't have a problem with money. I would preferably like to still keep money. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, But how are we going to be able to trade all these resources with one another and be able to sustain, right? And it's like what I just said. You can use a market. You can use a market that can allow people to be free and voluntary within that market and exchange whatever goods and services that they want, right? It doesn't have to be all about money. So it's like there's many different ways that we're looking at this, right? Because where we're at now is, I'm going to Star Wars because I am big into Star Wars. So that's where I can draw a lot of inspiration from. Other people, maybe whatever mythological sort of story you want to look at. If you're into Harry Potter's and stuff like that, like just look at the storylines, right? I'm using Star Wars in this, particular conversation. Where we're at now in the lineage of Star Wars, right? I'd say we're between Kenobi and R1. We're somewhere in the middle there. And it's, again, I say that very loosely because I'm still trying to kind of process exactly. I'm going back and watching those two, and I'm trying to figure out where it is in terms of humanity, where we're at. But the Death Star is the existential crisis, right? That is the threat to humanity. That's what's closing the eye, the Empire, right? And the destruction that they'll wreak havoc on every universe, right? So when we look at how do we become a player, right, in stopping this existential crisis from leading to something worse, right? How is it that we are going to work together on a team, right? Because if you look at Luke and Leia and Han, like they and the whole rebellion, right? You look at them and they were all on one team, right? In the sense of working together to combat this existential threat known as the Death Star. And then, Luke finds out all these things about himself and such, and they all find out a lot about themselves through that process. Not even just him, but that's another conversation. And I think that I'm able to use that as a baseline to, none of it was by accident. I'm able to use it as a baseline to understand what's going on in the world around me. But Mr. Lucas was, whether he was intentionally trying to say this or not, there was some divine guidance that drove him and Mrs. Cho, who did Obi-Wan Kenobi. I forgot who directed R1. I should know this, but it's okay. I'll look that up in a minute. And it wasn't by accident. That's just what I'm really trying to say. They created it. Mr. Lucas was the one who set this up for us to see what was within his consciousness, right? But he was also guided by some sort of divine guidance, and overall, he was really able to just create something that people like myself can connect with, right? And see and same with Mrs. J.K. Rowling, with Harry Potter, I have to go back and rewatch those too because there's a lot that's in that also. So it's like there's different downloads that we can get from all these movies that are kind of showing us where in humanity we're at, like, and what it is that we look to do, right? Because that's what, like I said earlier, that's what we have to discover. We have to discover that within ourselves, right? You have to fix. It's more than fixing. You have to heal what's going on within yourself and get to yourself and get to the source, and then the questions now are being asked, right? Now you can have that full spectrum conversation with yourself. That's really what is important here. Because if you're not having this full spectrum conversation with yourself, you're not really going to be able to combat this existential threat. Most of society's noise will still hinder you from really getting to the deeper truth of things, right? Like, as it was with me with Trump, and because I was a Trump guy, and I worked on his campaign, and yada, 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 Trump. But all of that noise is just blocking you from getting to what you truly value, right? Within your own humanity. And it's like, that's what we're really looking, I think, that's the result that we're looking for. And that is the kind of authenticity that comes from within, right? That kind of power and drive and force that you have to create what it is that you want to create within your own life, right? And then the clarity to really be able to speak a clear and concise message. That is what is going to continue to keep allowing for us to create this new story as we're creating it now, right? It's only unfolding now. It's only happening now, you know? And I think that when we really see the overall lay of the landscape, right? And this can apply anywhere. It could apply to Kenya, you know? When we look at the Kenyan government and you look at, it's the same story, you know what I mean? They have to do the same thing, you know what I mean? However it looks for Kenya, you know what I mean? Could I aid in it? Yeah, I could. Me and others could aid in it. Yeah, it's not just me, but like, yes, Kenya has to do the same. Kenya has to also create their own story. Because if you look at the system there, it's the same. People are struggling and people are poor, and the poverty rate it's getting worse. You know, so overall, like, it really is time for humanity to look at a different way of living and a different storyline. And that's the beautiful part, is it's like we're responding to this and we're looking at this in the wholeness of what is really going on, right? Once you get past the deception of the conditioning that society's told you to believe that the government is this and the system is that, and you need the government, you need the paradigm, right? You need what we have. Once you get beyond that, then you the full spectrum conversation, it starts with you and within yourself, and then now we start to the minds start to meet, right? We plug into this ether, we plug into this World Wide Web, we start to really connect with different people, and all these synchronicities keep happening, and all these things happen, right? And you're really able to look at what it is that you're really trying to create within yourself, realistically, that will mirror, the external will mirror the internal, right? And it's like, we're on the precipice of creating a utopia. We have everything that we need to do it, you know? We have we have love, we have understanding, we have growth, we have connection, we have community, like, all this stuff that society's telling you about crime, and you want to know why it's happening? Because it's all cultural. It's all the people are being raised. That's where it starts, you know? Then they're born into this world where a lot of it is really built on the lower self and the ego, and the no evolution out, no transcending of that ego. So you look at the way society is, you know, you look at the way that it's structured, right? It's structured on that. Most of it. Not going to say everybody or everything, but when I'm talking about the aristocracy, the corporatocracy, you know, that's run on that. It's all the government, the lobbyists. It's the state. It's all run on ego. It's all just run on control and power, and not that kind of power that I'm saying, right? The power to create change within, the power to create change externally, right? Like, that's not the kind of power that their power is for themselves. And so yes, the structure is built upon that. It's just built on the lower self, most of it. So when we start looking at the full spectrum of all this, right, we're now really able to see what it is that we look to advance in. What can we take and what can we leave behind? You know what I mean? That's really what we're really looking for. That's what we're really looking to understand. You know, and there's many minds that will meet together to make that happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not just me. It's not just Aubrey. It's not just Dr. Gaffney. It's not just Nick Wright. It's not just Dante Young. It's not just US MMA and all the homies I have over there. That's not it. You know what I mean? It's all of us as a collective to do it. To take all of our ideas, right? Strip the conditioning, strip the fucking bullshit, strip this fucking paradigm that's lied to us in most instances, all instances, I would argue, and meet them together, meet the minds together. It's very important. It's very important for us to have these full spectrum conversations, right? Like, very, very important, because if you're just going to be so limited in your own mind, then just perish with the old world then, because it's not evolving. As much as people will say and want to hold on to it and do this and do that, I don't see the evolution of consciousness in this old story. I don't see it at all. So it's really overall what it is that I see as an individual, right? And like, what is it that I'm looking to partake in terms of my future generations? And I'm doing them a disservice if I'm not. I'm doing my fucking kids and my grandkids and my future generations a disservice if I don't fucking try to combat this existential crisis. I'm not. I'm doing harm in my eyes. You know, it's my opinion that I would be doing such if I'm not trying to combat it in any sort of way. Whether it's making a YouTube video, whether it's just being a better fucking person, right? Looking at my shadows, looking at my trauma, looking at what it is that I went through, and then healing from that and building upon the values of my humanity, right? And what I believe, and standing firmly in that, not fucking just being swayed by fucking whatever. And I'm get tired of it, you know? Be controlled by whatever it is that I'm going to be, whatever I allowed to control me. But now I'm the one who's in control of my life. I'm the one who's in control of what it is that I desire, what I want to do, right? I'm not going to settle for anything that I don't want. So we're starting to really make headway, right, in discovering what it is that we want to write, right? And that's the beautiful part. I'm so happy about it, because it's like, I'm so happy to finally see that, like, I live in this world, right, and I understand that I'm not really in alignment with most people in terms of what I'm saying. Maybe people will judge me for it. I don't really care, because it's all empty. Anyways, most people's opinions are going to come from fucking what they've been indoctrinated to believe. So I don't really care. It doesn't mean anything. But being able to do this, right? Like, I'll just say what I want and do what I want. Nope, this is really me. I'm not, like, fucking, I'm not faking it, or I'm not, nope, this is Keen. This is the person that this is who I've truly been the whole time, you know? And then I went through the indoctrination, and I went through the conditioning, and I went through the bullshit that society told me who I'm supposed to be, right? And then come to find out, almost all of it wasn't, you know? And I found things that I connect with in society along the way. And again, I'm not going to say that, you know, sports and movies and a lot of things, but those things connect with my divine nature. So I really am able to gain a lot out of it, you know? But the current structure of my skin color and what I was told to believe and being ousted because I don't talk a certain way, or it's all fucking crap anyways. It's all fucking bullshit. So was never really interested in that as a kid, but I never had the space to really just evolve into myself, right? And this is to the deeper level of what I'm saying about the full spectrum conversation and then asking these questions, right? Like, just kind of thrown into the world and just not really knowing what it was that I wanted for myself, and didn't really like what was being. I knew school, and I'm in college now, and I think it's great, and I'm learning something through it, which is cool. I'm talking about the K through 12 sort of paradigm. I knew it wasn't something that I really wanted to really partake in. It was something that never really resonated with me. It was never really in alignment with me. You know what I'm saying? And I think overall, I'm really now able to really experience myself in the wholeness of myself, and that is what is allowing for me to just see different concepts and beliefs and that are in tune with myself, that also come from this sort of cosmic divine, teachers, and like that is what is allowing for me to mold into my true self. Like, I'm not really interested in doing anything that's not going to aid in that. I don't really want to just partake in society's bullshit. So I'm like, I'm grateful that I'm in the position where I'm at, where I can just speak what I want, and if you want to judge me for it and whatnot, it's all empty anyways. It's all just coming from the fucking empire anyways. It's all just what they've told us to believe, and if you think outside of it, it's not. Who cares? I went through life for so long just trying to appease other people, just held the L, big ass L, just holding it, right? And now I'm like powerful in myself, and I can embrace myself, and I can like love myself to the point where I can express myself how I want to express myself, wherever I want to express. You know what I mean? I just do what I want and walk this earth a free man, and that's something that I always wanted. So that's where I'm more or less talking about. It's starting within you, right? This creating the new system, the new paradigm that we're looking to shift, and we're looking to shift consciousness deeper this time, right? George Floyd, and I talked about that, and Jim Crow and abolishing that, like those were all shifts in consciousness, right? And I think that now we're going to start taking a deeper shift here, and it's happening. Like I said, it's happening now. Many people are like myself. I'm coming to find out, wow, a lot of people who are like me, who are like, wow, just questioning it, right? Willing to have that full spectrum conversation with themselves and with other people. So it's like, I'm really jazzed about it, man. I'm fired up about it. I'm fired up that, like, people want to look at things differently. People just want to ask different questions. You know what I mean? That's where it starts. They're asking themselves and asking other people, hey, that's the way it makes sense. So, like, excuse me. The birth of a new story. That's really what we're conjuring up. We're looking at the old story and boarding a new story out of what we saw. We're taking what we maybe could use, in the new story, and then discarding the rest. And it's continuously happening day by day. The more people awaken to themselves, and the more people look at their lives and the choices that they made, and ditching things that might not serve them anymore, and getting to themselves and opening themselves up and opening their hearts up and opening their minds up and opening their spirit up, and like connecting with all of it, connecting with all of their being. And that's really where this new story is unfolding. And I see it, and I'm extremely, extremely grateful to have this platform. And I look to expand this platform. I look for this platform to reach a lot of people. And I touched on the results of what it was that more or less I'm looking for other people to get out of my channel, right? I'm not just going to just talk and just not really have a baseline of what it is I'm trying to convey to others, the message I'm trying to convey. Like, no, this is who I am. This is what I'm trying to convey to you. And I'm extremely grateful to be able to have this space and be able to continue to create this platform. So, overall, if you're interested, give me some feedback. I want to, eventually, once I start getting, to a certain place, start bringing people on, and just day-to-day people that I come in contact with, So, that's all I got for right now. Probably, I said this last time and I didn't make a video, so I'm not going to say that I'm going to make another video later. We'll see how I feel later. I got a lot of homework and calls to make, so I love you all so much, and I will see you soon. Bye.